how's it going? In this video, I'm going to show you how to use shape layers in After Effects. Okay, and so I have After Effects open right now. I'm going to go to New Project. And shape layers are a very important tool in After Effects. It's one of the main things that creates really eye-popping video. When we talk about motion graphics, shape layers is where that comes in. So motion graphics basically is meaning that it is animation, it is video. It's the same thing as many other software animation type of software that's out there that does the same type of output. Um, but the shape layers is a little bit different because most motion graphics things that are done in other softwares are just moving images around, which we could do that here in After Effects well. But uh, but the shape layer is actually moving the shape itself and actually deforming it and making some really interesting things. So the first thing we're going to do is right here in our bin, we're going to come down to our little shortcut to the composition settings, which will create a new composition. And we can leave everything alone if you have it like this, HD TV 1080 at 29.97 frames per second. We normally call that 30 frames per second, just round it up to the next number. And for this, we can just shorten our time duration to about 10 seconds, if that. We're probably not going to do that much. Always go ahead and name this. This is going to be called shape layer animation. And hit OK. And we have our composition window here. Here's our timeline. And we can go ahead and right click down here in our timeline, come to new shape layer. Okay, and a shape layer is just an empty layer right now where we can put in our different type of shapes. Now what is highlighted immediately is right up here in our tools is this here, which is the rectangle tool. If you click and hold, you'll see other options underneath that tool. So we have rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, and star tool. So let's right now play with the rectangle tool. Now everything that I'll be doing with the rectangle tool can be done with the other ones as well. So feel free to practice with the other one. Notice that your cursor is changed to a cross with a star next to it. And what you're going to do is just click and drag, and you can hold down shift if you want it to be proportional. It's a square right there. If you let go of the shift, you can become any rectangle you want it to be. So we're just going to go and do that. Now from here, we're going to run over to the move or selection tool. And what we can do is that we can move this around. Okay, it's very simple. We can move it up and down, left and right. One thing I want you to take note down here is the shape layer is called shape layer 1. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is hit enter to rename that. We're going to call this square. All right. And down in here where you'll see a lot of your transforms options, which is under here, your anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity, all that is applies to the object. So you can see we can move the position, we can change the scale. Notice it's also being determined by this anchor point here, which we can move. If you go to the anchor point tool or the pan behind tool, which is right here, the dotted line, click and drag that to someplace like in the middle, right about there. Okay, come back to your move tool and you'll see that, and you can even use it with the rotate tool. It rotates right there in the center, so that's what we want. So again, scale, we'll scale from that middle point. Okay, again, if you want this to be in a different spot, just use that anchor point tool, just move it down here. And so if you wanted to scale from there, it will just scale down from that point like that. Okay, and if you're not understanding what I'm doing here, I'm just hovering with my mouse over these numbers here in these transform options, and you can just click and drag to change it. You can also type it in the scale you want, 50, 300, like that. Okay, 100 is like the default one that you created. So anchor point tool, I'm gonna put this right back in the middle. If you hold on shift, it kind of snaps. It's a little wild, but if you just leave it right there, it's fine. You can move it just like how I did right there. Again, I like to make sure that I'm pressing V or clicking on the selection tool just to make sure that I don't mess up anything. Okay, so it's a good habit to always be on the selection tool. Selection tool is safe. Okay, everything else can cause maybe a little problem. You have to undo, redo, whatever. This rotation here, I don't know if you knew this already from a previous professor or if you've used After Effects in the past, but if you have your transform option like this closed, sometimes it gets cluttered, especially if you have more layers. Okay, so if I only want to see the position, you press P, P for position, right there. Okay, press P again and heights. All right, press S as in Sam or for scale, brings up the scale. Okay, T is opacity, so think of T as transparency. It brings up the opacity. If you click and drag that, it can go from a lower opacity back up to 100, which is full. Okay, R is rotation. Rotation shortcut, the R is not this one up here, not the rotation tool. That's W. See how it's highlighted right now? So W, think of rotation like Elmer Fudd. All right, R is for down here, which you can rotate at the degrees. Now it has 0x plus 0.1 degrees or 0.0 degrees. Basically, what that's saying, when it goes to the plus, it's rotating to the right. When it goes negative, it goes to the left. Okay. Now, what all that's really saying, if you type in 1 here, okay, and nothing's gonna happen, okay, because it's not timed. But you can actually tell it, like let's say if I do 360, right now you can't see it. It does 0, okay, but basically it did 1 right there. See that? So if I put this back to 0, and actually this to 0, okay, there's no rotation applied at all. This is only really important when we hit the timer to start animating this. So, but that's not part of the lesson here. We'll go back to that another time. I wanted to make sure you understand what a shape layer looks like. Now, if you click out so that the object is not highlighted, so this is highlighted right now, it's selected. It has the bounding boxes all around it, so you know it's highlighted. If you click out in any empty space, like in here, or right here in the gray area, or even here, it unselects or deselects, and we can see the shape layer as it is. Now, if you click on it, we have different options. Right up here, the fill, which is the color, so you can change this, and you can change the color to blue. You can see that it's updating right now. You're going to change it to green or whatever you want. Okay, hit OK. You can actually put in your actual numbers in there. If you click on the word fill, it actually gives us different options as well. It has this one here where it says none, right now where it's highlighted none. Basically, when you click on that, it's an invisible shape layer. There's no color, there's nothing. I'm going to go to the next one. This is a solid, okay? Next one here is a linear gradient, and this is a radial gradient. So if you click on that, it gives us a linear gradient, and you can change, you can go ahead and change that gradient however you want it, okay? Let's go back to the radial, and does that too. You can move this hand, sorry. You can go ahead and then expand that however you want to. I'm just showing you those options for how the shape layer works, okay? You can also change the opacity here. It's a lot of different options. This is the blending modes, all right? So if you want to do a multiply or screen or whatnot, but you know, for now we're just going to leave it at solid color, and I'm actually going to change the color back to something a little brighter. There it goes. The one next to it right here, stroke, gives us an outline. So if we go ahead and add a solid color, and you'll see that up here, so hit OK. Then actually click on this outline here, and you can change the outline color that it is right now. You see right there. Let me click out so you can see it. Well, barely can see it. Actually, right here, the pixels, we have to increase that. So you see that? Okay, those are the outline of this. All right. Now we can have a little fun with that too in another video as well. I'm going to put this down to 10 so you can see it, and I'm leaving this on for the purpose of showing you how this can change. Okay, so the purpose of shape layers is not just making a basic shape like this, but actually to deform it. Okay, and right over here, the pen tool, just like in Photoshop, you can create your own shape layer if you wanted to. Just go ahead and do whatever you want. And you notice it's following the same aspects of color and stroke and the thickness of the stroke right in here. Okay, so you can create your own. I'm going to go ahead and select that one and delete all together. Okay, deletes everything. So you got to be careful with your shape layers, because if you're only using one and you're creating multiple objects in here, so we can go and do a square. We can come over here and get an ellipse and do a circle. Hold down shift to do a perfect circle. If you don't hold down shift, you get an oval or an ellipse. You can get a star right in here. hold down Shift and spacebar, you can move it wherever you want. Okay, so those are the things, but notice they're all on the same shape layer. That's not a good thing unless you want them all to behave and do the same thing. If you want them to working as separate objects, you have to create multiple shape layers. So new shape layer. Okay, there's one, and then we'll make a second one before we make the actual objects shape layer. We'll go ahead and call this one, hit enter, call this circle. On this one, hit enter, call this one square. Okay, so then on this circle, we can go to our shape layer, get the ellipse tool, okay, and make our circle. Okay, press spacebar by accident there. That's why it was moving. And then our square, we can go ahead and change this to our square. Hold on Shift, there it is. So now I can select this one as a separate layer and this one as a separate layer and have them behave differently. Okay, so that's very important. Now, I'm only going to use the square. Back over here on the pen tool, so we have the pen tool where you can create your own shape layer, your own unique one, and this pen tool comes very handy later on in another video when we do rotoscoping or just some masking. This one here where it says add vertex tool, which just has a plus sign on the pen tool, and basically what it does is you can add points to this. Now right now you're gonna see that it's not really doing anything. Okay, it only can manipulate the object. Okay, and the reason is because it is still not a editable, or it's not, we can't edit yet on this. So one thing we need to do is right here where it says if we go into the shape layer, I'm going to close it up so you see it like this. So when you open it up, the transform tools is what we were playing with earlier, so ignore that. We're going to look at where it says contents, and you open that up. There's a rectangle, that's what this is, and open that up, and we have different things. We have the stroke, we have the fill, which all can be animated. Okay, so we'll get into that in another video, not right now. Right here, the path, rectangle path is where it's important. If we right click, we're going to convert this to a Bezier path. Okay, now I can go ahead and start applying some new points on this. Okay, you can plot it wherever you want and it starts applying new points. If you hold down Control, okay, you'll notice that the pen tool changes to an arrow. So it depends on where you're at, but it's basically the same tool. So you see a white here, you'll see a black there, but it's fine. Click on it, on those little points that you created, or even the ones that were there previously, like this, and you can now start changing the shape of this object. Okay, so it went from a square to a almost like a stop sign, you know, right here. Right. Also, what's nice about it is that we can animate these things. Okay, so I want to undo this real quick because I want to show you another tool before we get there. Let me undo everything and get rid of that. Okay, so here we're back to normal. We're still with the Bezier path. That's perfect. Underneath the pen tool is the convert vertex tool, which just looks like a sideways upside down V. Okay, so if you click on that and go ahead and click and drag on any points, look what it does. It creates these handles. These handles are called Bezier handles. All right, you'll learn more about this in other software like in Illustrator or even in Maya, as this comes out very important. Here in After Effects, you can see it on this or in the graph editor. Hold down your Control and then we can move this around. Okay, now I want to make sure that you're seeing that we have, okay, I thought this was changed for a second. Okay, so what we can do is all that can get animated. We turn that on, the stopwatch, and you'll have your blue diamond there. Okay, and then we can grab that, so move it like right here, and you'll see that it created a new diamond right there. So what happens is that now the whole object kind of deforms and changes. So let's go back and start this anew. All right, I want to go back through the steps, and right here you can go to new. Okay, you can also come up to layer, new, oh sorry, layer, new, shape layer, right there. There's no hotkey for that. You can make one. You can go into the preferences and make your own. What I like to do first is to rename, and I'm going to call this square. Okay, And then from here, I'm going to go ahead into my rectangle or any of these other tools here to use a specific shape I want. I'm going to use the rectangle tool again. Go ahead and make a rectangle this time. It doesn't have to be a square. And the color can be changed right in here. You can change it to a blue, you can change it to a green, a dark green, whatever it is. Hit OK. Your stroke is right here. The size of the stroke is this, okay, right next to it. If you click on that, you can also change the color of the stroke. From there, you can put like, let's make that red or yellow or whatever color you prefer. Hit OK. And remember to kind of like default yourself back to the selection tool. Okay, so you can click out. There it is. All right. Now the bounding boxes here, all it does is going to change the scale and the shape of it. Okay, that's all it's going to do. Okay, so that's not going to change the shape of this. So what we need to do is right over here where it says contents, underneath that it says rectangle 1. Okay, you can also, well, I'll leave it alone. I was going to say something else, but we can leave that alone. Right here where it says rectangle path is where it's important. Okay, so right click, convert to Bezier path. All right, so now we have this path 1, and we have where it says path, there's your stopwatch. So then you can go ahead and click that on. That's automatically going to add a key tick right here in our timeline, the little diamond right there. Now to move this, because it's just going to grab the whole thing, it's not going to do anything. I'm going to undo what I did. Okay, it's not going to do anything cool. It's not going to change the shape of it. We actually need to first either add some vertex. We can put maybe one here, one here. Let me undo that. One here, one there, and one there. Okay, and then you can either hold down, and it's updating automatically here, by the way. Okay, so what's interesting about the shape paths and the layers is that even though like it didn't start off with 8 points, those are the points like I added later here, you can see they appear, it started off with only 4 on the corners, but it will update to those 8 paths. Okay, so if later on you need to add more, it would update again and retain everything you did before. So right in here, I can go ahead and either hold down control, can just move it, and it moves it angularly. It doesn't change this into those curves like it was doing before. I could do that, and watch what happens when I go back. It's gonna just change like this. Okay, see that? And then if you need to slow that down, you can always move your timeline so that it takes a little more time. We can hit play just to see what that looks like. Just hit spacebar. You see how it just changes. So imagine the possibilities we can do. You can actually like have this box form into letters, or change shape on the fly. Come up with like, maybe it goes from like let's say you're doing a logo and you need it to morph from one shape to another. You can do it that way. But if we go back up to our pen tool and we go to the convert vertex tool, which is one we're looking for, let's come over here, click on that point there, click and drag so you can get the little handles. Okay, so automatically it updates right there. So we'll hit play and you'll see what it does. Opens up like that. Okay, you can do that to any point. If you hold down the control button, you can change that like this. So I undid a little bit more. Let's go ahead and click here, drag it out, hold down control, move it out this way. Maybe it gets a little thinner on one side. I'm still holding down control so I can get individual handles to move. If I don't hold down control, it'll move. Oh, it was gonna move. Hold on, let me move it here. There, like that. See, it moves both. Okay, here you can move it together. You can hit play and you'll see that it'll bend and then open up like this. So again, a variety of different options you can do. You can go ahead and just move everything. Have fun, play with this, twist that around, come back over here. Just be wild, try to make a shape, have a little fun with this. Okay, like that, whatever you want, and then you hit play and it's gonna go kind of nutty because it's just blobbing around like that. And then you can always change your timing by moving those little key ticks on your timeline so it does whatever you want it to do. Okay, so that's it for now. Um, there's another video that I'm posting that's going to show you how to morph a triangle into a square. It's a great little video that I found for you guys. It's going to take this lesson a little further, and we'll come back and review this. Again, just to be aware of how I'm going to be posting content on Brightspace. Even though we will move on to the next week or so, be aware that I may add new things. So make sure you're checking your emails or your notifications because something will pop up at some point. I may come up with another video that I want to share with you. I don't want you guys just to watch one video and be done with it. I want you to be able to get as much content as possible so that you can get really proficient in the software. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.